Wes, my brother, what's up?
Oh man, I got to tell you, I love when people are here from the industry, your industry. But today, not only do we have somebody with a golden voice that, is out there just doing the same thing that we do, but with a much better voice. But, I love people that are positive and kind of bring something a little different to the conversation. And Scott is going to, build wins and do just that. It's awesome to have, somebody from outside the industry on.
It is, and Scott McKain, man, I'll tell you what. Ever since I've got to know him, you're right. One thing I don't like about Scott is you're right. His voice is so much better than ours. I mean, it's like a voice made for entertainment, which is probably why he spends most of his life in Vegas now. But
it's butter smooth.
Oh, it is. And you got you and I, but you got a butter smooth head, so that works. I mean, I don't know if that counts, but no, we're going to talk because and the funny thing, we'll get to it in a minute, but Scott brings so much to the table from a business standpoint and everything else, and I'm just excited we get to chat with him. So what do you think? You and I talk, or you want to get Scott? What do you think?
I think we should chat less and bring on more Scott.
That's probably a good point.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go. Hey, my brother, how you doing, Scott?
I'm doing great, man. It's great seeing you. How are you?
That's it. I'm great. Now you got to live up to that great promo on your voice. I mean, you come on,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, exactly. I remember, Scott, before I really get into more, but I got to tell you, I think the first time I saw you anywhere was probably with Ken Walls and Glenn. I always get the name
More shower, like I need
more
to
shower.
take more
Thank
showers.
you. Yes, more showers. Yes, yeah. From actor, TV guy. We all saw him on 24, I believe.
24,
right? Where his big fame was probably. But I go, who in the hell's voice is this? It's like, I mean, I want a voice like that. I mean, so it's good stuff. So did you buy that somewhere? Is that an Amazon thing, or did you just look at it?
You can get it overnight with Prime. It really works out
perfect.
It's kind of a funny story. I grew up in a farm town, a rural community in southern Indiana, Crothersville, Indiana, and the local radio station was 8 miles south of Scottsburg. And I was 14 years old, and they hired me to be a disc jockey, not because I had a good voice or anything, but because they figured if they did, my mom and dad owned the one grocery store in Crothersville, so they'd buy more commercials so their kids were on the radio, right?
Perfect.
So move some of the newspaper budget to radio. But from the time I was 14 on, I was spending 4 to 6 hours every day with headphones on trying to sound like a man. So I would drive my voice down, and my dad has a great singing voice. I can't sing, but I think I almost accidentally did it, because you spend that much time trying to drive your voice down or trying to have a pleasant voice to be on the radio. Plus, you hear yourself. Crazy thing about headphones. Remember the first time you heard your voice over something? How much different it sounds than what you sound like in your head.
Oh, it's amazing.
And so I always had headphones on because I was on the radio. So I was hearing how my voice actually sounded. And I just tried to make it sound that way. So, you do it 4 to 6 hours a day, 6 and 7 days a week for years, especially and my voice was changing. And they give me these stupid assignments. Like I would call the local high school basketball game. And every guy knows when you're that age, your voice is changing. So there's the shot. It's good. It was terrible.
That's awesome.
But it was a great learning laboratory. Yeah. And that's, I believe in it, as I know you do, Randy. I believe in that so much, about paying your dues and learning through experience. I was a member of FFA, Future Farmers of America. That's what changed my life. But one of the stories I always related is, I could read every book about welding, but until you get a torch in your hand, you got no idea how to do it. And
right.
You got to learn it. You got to learn it by doing it.
Yes.
And I'm just a big believer in that.
And the FFA, it's funny because that's one of the cool things that I learned about you in the past was the small town farm growing up on the small town, the FFA. I was not in FFA. I knew a lot of people that were.
Yeah.
my town I grew up in was 1,201 people. And
Oh,
it flipped over
you
to
had me beat. We were 1,500. So.
Oh, okay. Well, and it flipped when my wife at the time and my boys left town. The sign flipped back to 1197. I mean, it's important to them to be accurate. But
Yeah.
but my whole life, I love growing up in a small town.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to be. I grew up on a farm.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to farm.
Right.
And I never wanted to be in a small town.
Yeah.
So I didn't join some of those things probably only because I'm in my goofy little mind at 14, 15, 16, 17 years old is I want less of this, not more.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the plan is. I have no idea what the plan was, but it just wasn't this. That's all I kind of knew. Even though I did farm with my dad for a while and enjoyed it. It was a great way to grow up. As a matter of fact, it's out to beta readers now, but I'm just finished a book, my first book.
Wow! Congrats.
And thank you. It'll be out shortly. You might get a copy if you're a good guest. We'll see. A little pressure on you.
I'll do my best.
You'll do your best. But the first couple chapters I talk about growing up on the farm.
Yeah.
And the lessons you learn from going out in the bean field at night and hoeing weeds with your dad, and and I think those are lessons that escape a lot of kids, unfortunately, that don't grow up with that same background. So I think that was one of the things that really attracted me to getting to know you better was that same background.
I appreciate that because in some ways it was a similar thing because when I was between my 7th and 8th grade year, my dad's favorite brother passed away, and so we took in his son. So being the oldest of two to now, having somebody older in the house, and he was a sports star. And I'm very competitive, but I didn't have the athletic gifts that he had. And I remember seeing his name on the front page of the sports page of the little local paper, but the FFA banquet was on the front page. And I remember laying there on the floor of our living room as a kid thinking, here's something I could do to get. And so for me, FFA was my way out.
Right.
Interestingly enough, it was how to learn about leadership and how to learn about speaking and how to learn it better, how to communicate, which also I think was part of what led to radio, which is part of what led to many other things. But that's how my speaking business got started. Was I was state president and then national officer of FFA. So I laid out of college for 2 years to do nothing but travel and speak. And I literally gave 1,000 free speeches, everything from Kiwanis clubs and Rotary clubs and Lions clubs to high school assemblies to parent member banquets to farm bureau meetings. You're just constantly speaking. And again, it's about doing the reps. It's about doing what it takes. So by the time I got out of national office, got out of college, I had more speaking experience probably than anybody my age.
Oh, sure.
It's sometimes it's not how long, it's how many, how good your practice is. And I also had some great coaches in terms of speaking and communication. And because my mom and dad ran the one little grocery store, I was always fascinated by business and why did customers do what they do and how did you serve customers better? It was just the perfect training ground. I say, I'm so grateful to have been from a small community. I want to be in the bigger city, but I certainly enjoyed. And I'm so grateful for where I grew up and the people I grew up with.
Oh, there's no doubt. It was a great upbringing, and I even though I didn't want to be a farmer. Yeah. And I love farmers. I mean, a lot of the people that buy product that I represent it goes into the agricultural world. Right. So, I mean, I love that, but it just wasn't for me. But still, as we kind of addressed, what a great way to grow up.
Oh, yeah.
The work ethic more than anything. And I tell anybody to listen that I've learned and become pretty good in the world of sales over my 4+ decades of doing this.
Absolutely.
But never learned as much as I learned from my dad.
Yeah.
Because you can learn the dog and pony stuff. You can learn this widget versus that widget and tell the whole story and all that. But it's the ethics, the relationship building, the caring about, I want to make sure you get what you need, Scott, not what I want to sell you, right?
Yeah.
And that's so valuable, isn't it?
Oh, it's the most important point, Randy. You're exactly right. When I was a kid, I remember, I sometimes tell the story of my speaking. The guy that ran the local clothing store across the street running through the intersection to come in the store and breathlessly tell my dad the reason they were clearing the field on the north end of town is they were going to make way for the construction of a supermarket. We owned the one grocery store, and I literally remember seeing Dad's knees buckle just a little bit, but I was too young to really get all of what that meant. But as the supermarket was being constructed, our fears and anxieties as a family, as every small business person knows, it's not just your job. I mean, your chips are all on the table when you're an entrepreneur, and just seeing what my dad did, and funny how much smarter your parents get the older you are, right?
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff.
I remember Dad saying, look, it's a chain. They can always beat us on the price of a gallon of milk. They will always sell a loaf of bread cheaper than we can. What can we do that they won't?
Yes.
And it was serve them to death. Dad said, you come in and buy a pack of gum, we're going to offer to carry it out to the car. We're going to serve you to death. We delivered groceries before anybody heard of Instacart. People could call it, give us their order. We'd pack it up, bag it, put it on their credit, take it to their house, deliver it, carry it in their house, set it up. We did everything. And about, 7 years later, the supermarket closed their doors and left town.
Really? Yep.
And it was because they could outsail us in terms of what the sale price was, but they didn't outserve us. That wasn't in the manual, of how a chain was supposed to work.
Oh, exactly. Oh, exactly. And I find that I found a couple little local here in Naples, Florida, a couple little hardware stores.
Yeah.
If I need stuff, I'm not anti-Lowe's or anybody else at all.
Yeah.
But I'd rather go to a little hardware store where there's this 73-year-old guy that used to be in construction or used to be a plumber, and they can literally take you by the hand almost. And what are you building? What are you doing? What are you working on? Here's at the chains, aisle 7, about halfway down on the left.
Yeah. That's a perfect example. Yeah, because they knew exactly what aisle that what you said you looking for is on. Yep. But at the smaller place, and I'm with you. That Smug's actually done it, and he may say what you're saying may not be exactly what you need. Here's something that you like.
And usually there's enough guys there that if he doesn't know, he says, let me get Ralph.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Ralph used to do this. And at the end of the point, there's 3 of you standing there figuring out this thing all for $1.47 sale.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Because again, they got away from, and we all talk about this a lot, but they got away from the transaction and they got to a relationship. Yep. And let's face it, we have to have transactions. At the end of the day, the cash register needs to ring or none of us get paid.
Right.
But it's how do we get to that, right? And if it's only transaction, that means that I only got the business today until the next guy walks in next week and he's selling screws, for example. I sell fasteners. Until their bag of fasteners 13 cents cheaper than my bag of fasteners, if it's all based on transaction, right?
You're exactly right.
And you speak to the truth with that, the grocery store thing. So that's a great.
I appreciate that because one of the things I learned is that there's only 2 ways a business grows, and one is acquisition. We find new people to spend money with us that haven't spent money with us before, but you also have to pair that with retention.
Right.
And I see companies that will plan out an acquisition strategy. Man, they get into that and how much we're going to spend to market and what we're going to do to get new customers in the door. And the problem is they got somebody going out the back door,
right? And
so much churn. And it's like we'd say on the farm: close the gate. Don't let them out, right?
Yeah.
If you would plan retention with as much passion and precision as you plan acquisition, then that's growth. Keep the ones you got. And there's this thing that they taught at school in a business course about the customer life cycle. They're a suspect, then they're a prospect, then they're a first-time customer, then they're a repeat customer, then they're a loyal customer. And I always thought it stopped too soon because there's the higher one, and that's an advocate.
Yes.
And the advocate is the one that is such a they love what you do so much. They're going to tell their friends and they're going to tell their family.
Exactly.
And so then what we need to be in business is how do we manufacture advocates?
Yes.
What does it take? So what we are doing is producing more folks that will advocate for us in the marketplace. That's what it's all about.
Oh, that's so spot on. And you're saying that, I think of of a book we've all read, Ken Blanchard's Raving Fan, right?
Oh yeah.
You got a raving fan. You almost can't force them to leave you.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
you could screw you could, not that you want to, but you could
Right.
screw up for like the next 20 years and they're still not going to leave you. I wish you'd stop screwing up, Randy, but man, we just still love you, right?
Yeah.
And that's the key, right? Because a satisfied customer, when people think, well, our customers are satisfied, satisfied just means they're okay until the next steakhouse down the street opens up.
Yeah.
Then they're going to the other steakhouse, right? That's all satisfied means. But I mean, they might not leave you right now if there's no options.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Randy, I've always said the example that I use is I'm married to a wonderful gal, Tammy, and I use the example, if I would have gotten down on one knee 20 years ago, had that little box with the ring I'd saved up for behind my back, looked her in the eye and said, right before I'm about to pop the questions, Tammy, honey, what do you think about our relationship? If she'd have gone, I guess I'm satisfied.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the time to ask for the marriage commitment, right?
No, you might want to slip that back in the hip pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Satisfaction is a miserably low standard when we're looking for commitment.
Exactly.
But yet we want to accept it in business. Oh, they're satisfied. Well, satisfied means you haven't pissed them off to the point they go someplace else, right? I mean, they're satisfied. That's all right.
Well, if they stay with you, if they stay with you, if you're having issues, because they just haven't figured out where else to go yet, or it's a pain in the butt to switch, so that's not a good place to be.
No,
right? Because that just means they've left already.
Yeah.
You just don't know when that is yet.
You don't know when it is. Right.
And,
right.
And another, back to what you said, and I loved your point, is retention. And I just talked to somebody the other day. I wrote a blog about this the other day because I love the theory of share a wallet too. In my world as a B2B guy, I always like to look at some of the, not that you always want to go the easiest route, but the easiest additional sale is to the customer you already have that's already a raving fan or somewhere on that spectrum. Am I selling them everything I have?
Yeah.
So along with keeping them, if I have 12 items and I'm selling you 10, that's the easiest place to get additional business, is find a way to sell you those other 2 items, right?
Yeah.
Because you're already cutting POs. You already know what I can do.
Yeah.
Why are we not doing that? And I think a lot of businesses, they take the 80-20 the wrong way. They take the 80% of the business that I can get easily, and maybe if you got the 80-20, that's covering all your expenses and the cost of doing business. But the 20% is going to be where the profit is if you just go ask for the business, right?
Randy, I was talking to a friend yesterday. He's a client who has, become a friend, as I know you experience all the time. And I've worked with him at other company that he was with. Well, he's now the chief revenue officer, and it's a B2B company. And I said, so what's the biggest problem the company's having? He said, retention. So he said, here's what I did. I said, give me a list of 10 customers that didn't renew. And he said, I called him, and I wrote about this in a book doing the same thing. When you call that customer, one of the first things you got to say is, I need your help for information, but I'm not going to try to sell you anything. Because if they think it's a sales call, then they shut down. But people love to help if you're sincere and you're asking for help. He said, I'm not trying to sell you anything. When I get the information, I'm hanging up. This is not what this is about. Why did you not renew? Why did you leave us? And he said, here was the shocking thing. He said, literally all 10 of them said, well, first of all, Chris, we love your product, but your people have been so difficult to deal with, or your people just don't seem to care about our business, or one of your competitors talked to us and they knew our problems better than your people knew our problems.
Wow.
And so he said everything that the company had done is, this product is so good, this product is so fantastic. And it was like they thought everybody else was making crap. And he said, we're all good. How do we separate ourselves? And he said, part of how we separate ourselves is we build these relationships that you're talking about. We show that we know what their problems are. we care about their problems are. We're not trying to solve these problems for the industry. I'm trying to solve it for your business. He said, when you get there, people, why would people leave?
Right. Right. Well, exactly. And, thinking about what you're saying there, if you, along that line of, what we're really saying is stop selling,
Yeah.
just quit selling,
Yeah.
and ask and care and take care and solve the problem for the customer, and they'll become a customer friend. They'll become a raving fan for life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we get too wrapped up, I think, as in business, in my opinion. And you touched on it a minute ago is, well, I make the greatest widget ever developed in mankind. And that's all you talk about in social media, all you talk about everywhere you're at. And I'm looking at it as a consumer, big deal.
Yeah.
I don't care about all that. What I really care about is it good? Is it reasonable quality? And what are you going to do and how are you going to take care of me? Because as you just hit on is, in most industries, if your competitors have been around for a while,
yeah,
they're all good.
Yeah, they're all good.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in my world, in fasteners, for example, they all hold a metal roof down.
Yeah.
Right? I have no monopoly on that. Right?
Right.
So it's like, if that's my only go-to, well, theirs holds it down too, and they're cheaper, or they're faster, or they're prettier, or I like them better than, there's all these reasons. So we need to get away from that and get back to some basic taking care of the customer every day the way you want to be taken care of. It's all old school stuff.
It really is. No, you're so right. I just did some work with a company, and they make cardboard boxes,
which is pretty exciting.
It's like factory. I mean, it's really hard to differentiate a cardboard box.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is the differentiator?
Yeah.
We do what here's the line that we use with them. We do what we said we would do when we said we would do it.
Love it.
Right?
That's all people want.
That's what, to be dependable, be reliable, care about us, understand, and the other thing is they said, okay, so some folks need a different size cardboard box. You're selling stand-up bass guitars. You need a different box than a flat bass guitar.
Right.
We custom that box so it perfectly fits your product. We do things for our, that transcend transaction, and that's the big thing that I talk about is, the distinctive out there. Find a way to transcend the transaction, to make it more than that.
Love that. I love that, because you're right. If you don't, all you're back to is quoting and hoping. As a good friend of Wes and I is Marvin Montgomery, the sales doctor that Martin I don't know if you know Marvin, but good guy. But I remember the first time now we get breakfast together whenever we're in the same town or whatever. But I remember one of his first talks to a group of contractors was, y'all just got to stop quoting and hoping.
Quoting and hoping. Yeah.
That's, and I go, that's I hadn't thought of it. This is years ago now.
Right.
But he says, what do you do? I mean, you just you give them a number. He said, anybody can give them a number.
Yeah.
You stop quoting and hoping and find out. Do you know what their building's for? Do you know why they're building it? Do you know what their aspirations are? No, they want a 30 by 40 building, 12 foot tall with 3 doors, so you give them a price. Wow, that's exciting.
Well, right.
Anybody can do that. I mean, you could hire a 19-year-old kid to go back on a computer program and come up with that in about 13 and a half seconds.
Yeah.
If that's all you're doing.
Yeah. Well, right? You mentioned AI earlier. I mean, it's going to be a whole lot easier for somebody to go on AI and say, give me the price range that's been paid over the last, 2 years for this particular thing, to be used for this particular function.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's continuing to go this way. Right now, the customer has more power than they've ever had.
Exactly. And
right now, this moment is the least power they're going to have in the future.
Fair enough. But that's right.
It's only going to grow more. And, I think about, I do a lot of work in the automotive industry. And, so many of these sales guys, they had all the power. They had all the numbers, and then they convinced you they were going to get up and go talk to the manager.
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to try my best to get you a better deal. Yeah, I'm going to try to get you to spend less money rather than the company that's signing that paycheck to make
Yes.
more. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course they
Yeah.
are, right?
And if we believe that, if we believe that, like we was talking earlier, then we believe that you're going to make millions gambling in the Bellagio in Vegas.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly right. Exactly
Yeah,
right.
same idea.
Yeah, same chances, same odds,
Yes.
you know. And now they're order takers,
Mhm.
right? I've been online, I've read the reviews, I know what the last 10 sales in my city have been for this particular model, what they paid. I could, if I dig close enough, I can probably find the dealer costs and the incentives going on. I know they make their money from service, not as much from
Mhm.
sales. I've got more. I can find out basically as much as the salesman knows.
Mhm.
So the dynamic has changed. Here's the other thing: it's totally changed. And then I can go on Yelp and Google and review them,
Right.
and massively impact their business because. Sorry about that. We're having an ice storm here today, and I'm at the house. And
no problem.
the doggies are barking.
I love doggies.
But that's the other thing. I can give a review, and it's incredible how people respond to reviews.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely.
there's varying studies on it. I know that you've seen, but in terms of how many people base on where they choose everything from the doctor to the grocery store to everything based on what your reviews are online.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yes. And in the past, and that's one of, there's so many great things with all the new technology that we have and all the new, but two things are for certain. A, we're not going backwards. We're going forward at a warp speed, right? But secondarily, what you just said is so spot on. Back when you and I were younger and doing our thing, you might irritate a customer really badly, and he might tell 4 or 5 people right around the neighborhood. Now they tell thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people, right, good or bad. And man, you get too many of those out there, you can't escape that. Ever.
Yeah, I was on a program a while back, and they had someone from Google talking about the importance of reviews and all that. And I thought this was interesting. The person said, "What do you think the perfect score is to have on your Google reviews?" Well, we all went 5, right? He said, "No, it typically is 4.7 to 4.8 because the average person believes no one can get a perfect 5 from everybody."
Right.
So if you don't get at least 1 or 2, 3s or 4s, then people don't believe it. But then here's the secondary thing. They look to see, did you respond to the less than positive review?
Right.
So a 3 is not a bad review if you respond, and not in a defensive way,
right,
but to say, as you can see from our other reviews, this isn't who we are. So, here's my number. Call me. We're going to figure out how to make you a happy customer. We're going to figure that out.
Right.
That is stronger, interestingly enough, than everybody giving you a 5 because it's real world.
Well, it is, and I love that because everybody knows if you're. I've had customers in the past. We've all had from time to time say, "I've had a lot of problems with my current supplier. Do you guys ever have any shipment issues?" Absolutely, yes, sir. We sure do. Sure do. Oh, now here's what we do about it. We don't have many. Here's what we do if we do. Here's how we keep you informed. They go, "Wow, thank you. Appreciate you being honest," because they all know that
the trust level has just gone
the
up,
trust
right?
level, because they know you're absolutely flat out lying if I tell you, for the last 20 years of doing this, I have never misshipped anything or missed a ship day or back ordered or ever. That's been perfect, because you're just a liar, Randy, right? Because we all know that.
We all know it. Yeah.
Own it, accept it. Yes, we have, not a lot, but we pride ourselves. But when it happens, here's how good question. Here's what I would do if this happened, Scott.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Right.
Fair enough.
So you're right. And what you hit on earlier too, that I loved is, if we for a minute, and I want to go back to this, because I think it's really important for people to remember, with today's technologies and the internet and Google and social media and everything, if you think for a moment that customer doesn't know as much as you know as a sales guy sometimes, and if you're lazy, probably more,
Yeah.
then you're making a big mistake. So blowing smoke or treating them like they aren't informed never was probably a good idea. But boy, they won't let you get away with it now.
Oh, so I did some work with BMW, and I was doing the meeting for all the BMW dealers in the United Kingdom, and they set me next to the CEO of United Kingdom BMW, and we're having, we're talking and everything, and then he dropped this statistic on me I thought was fabulous. He said 7 to 8 years ago, the average person that bought one of our cars made about 7 dealership visits. In other words, they would come drive one of our cars. They might go to another BMW dealer to see, what inventory they had. And they go drive a Lexus, and if sports car, they might drive a Porsche. They'll go drive a Mercedes. And they would go to total number of visits, including how many times they came to our dealership, was 7. He said today it's 1.2.
Wow.
Because they've been online.
They've done all the research. They don't need to do that anymore,
research.
Right? Yes.
And so he said, we have, and this was the other part that really got me. He said, we've spent literally tens of millions of dollars to train our salespeople for a world that no longer exists. They have all the product knowledge in the world, and they come in, and our guys and this was his term, he said they want to puke on you how much they know the wheelbase and horsepower and all that. Hey, you already know that when you walk in the dealership. If it's important to you, you've already looked it up. You already know it. What we have to convince you is that there's no friction. And we're also in an industry that's based on there being a lot of friction. The guy going back to talk to his manager and this, that, and the other. And he kind of had an interesting viewpoint too, that he said, and take Elon Musk out of the discussion. I don't mean it in that way, but he said a lot of Tesla's success is, you go online, you click, this is what we want, this is the price. Everybody knows demo models are discounted. Well, okay, this is the demo model. Here's how many miles, how much we discounted. And there you go.
Yeah.
And they have removed so much friction from the buying process. Now, here's the scary part. They do it without dealers. So he said, how do we make doing business with our dealers as frictionless as being able to buy your Tesla? And boy, that just shook me up to think that how many industries, your industry being one, I mean, construction, I mean, others have spent so much money training their people for a world that doesn't exist anymore.
That may be the highlight statement of the day, my friend. Seriously, I mean, that is thought provoking, and because you're right, it's all comes back to the relationship and why frictionless, as you said. We spend so many businesses make it so hard to do business with them. And as consumers today, I'm no different. Yeah. I'm not going to try only about this hard.
Right. Don't have to
spend money with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to spend about 1/8% trying to spend money, or I'm going somewhere else, because I don't need you to, I don't need you to literally drop your knees and kiss my butt.
Right.
But you can treat me some respect. You can make it easy for me to get what I would like to get if it's possible. I understand there's no sometimes.
Right.
But if I have to go through 900 hoops, I'm just going to go down the street and try there, right? Because I'm not going to do it. I don't want to do it. And the point is, you don't have to do it.
You don't have to do it. Yeah.
And what you said is everybody's already figured out. And I love what you're saying. And back to this is so spot on. Today, that customer, as any salesperson listen to this, a savvy customer, or even a less than savvy, is going to know everything they need to know by the time you talk to them about your product. You need to know it in case they ask, right? But at the end of the day, why is it going to be frictionless, like you said? And what is it that Randy or Scott or Wes can bring to the table here that Billy, Bob, or Joe or Tom can't bring to the table, right? That's the difference. That's the different differentiator, right?
You're exactly right. And therefore, another aspect of that, an additional aspect of that, is caring enough about you as the customer to ask, to determine, are you using the right criteria? In other words, if you've researched this and you know this, and you're leaning another direction, then my job is to get you to think, well, have you thought about, reliability, or have you thought about, our product lasts this long and our customer satisfaction is here, their product lasts this long and their level of customer satisfaction is there. Here's the service level that we provide. Here's all of those kinds of things. I really think that was one of the reasons, and Apple is an overused example, but first of all, it just works. But secondly, if I've got a problem, I go into the Genius Bar and they fix it.
Right.
And I don't have to know everything. All I have to know is, where do you go to get it fixed? And they took that to a higher level than what anybody else in that particular industry had done. And there's a lot of ways to look at it. Maybe they're not as aggressively innovative as they used to be, but nonetheless, I mean, hey, they're the highest market cap, depending on what day you look. They're the highest market cap company in the world.
Right.
Man, we could all learn from that. And I think that's another thing that smart professionals are doing, is looking at another industry and seeing what could we do, what's a great idea in another industry that we could take into ours. I just did a program for folks in the construction business in water, right? So it's pipes, it's drains, it's the gauges and everything else. And talking to the CEO of that company, and man, sharp guy. And one of the things they got up, so we did a meeting for all of their customers, right? They have a meeting for their customers, to talk to their customers and thank their customers and all this kind of thing. And it was called, and they even trademarked the term. It's the grand guarantee. And the grand guarantee is, if we screw up, we give you $2,000.
Wow.
Not only do we make it right, we're going to give you $2,000, because we shouldn't be messing up. And it turns out that it's like 1/3 of 1% of the time they've given out the $2,000. And I'm like, wow, nobody said, well, that's part of what makes us different, right? It's part of what makes us distinctive, is we back it up. I said, where'd you get the idea? He said, Domino's.
Wow. Okay.
Remember your pizza in 30 minutes?
30 minutes was free. Right. Exactly.
And he said, he said, I read in one of your books, is there, think about some other, what's working in some other industry, and how would we do that in our industry? And I thought, Domino's doesn't have the best pizza. I mean, nobody says, I'm going to order Domino's because it's the best pizza I ever put in my mouth.
Right.
It gets there. It gets there hot and fast and on time. And he said, I thought, well, what if we were the Domino's of water pipe and construction? And so how would we do that? Well, we would guarantee it.
Yep. Love that.
And then therefore now your employees know what they have to do. They've got to get it there on time. They've got to do what they said they would do when they said they would do it. We've got to, those are the kinds of things. And how do customers respond to that? He said, and here's the other thing. We found out that our customers start asking our competitor, well, if you mess up, do I get $2,000?
Right. Yep. Hey, proves it's working, right?
Yeah. And he said, here's the other thing. Even if a customer would say, yeah, we do that too, you still look like the imitator, not the innovator in the industry. So
exactly. Well, and you hit on it, and I love that too, is always good to network within your industry, obviously, but I love to network out of the industry, because what you just said, and I've used a term sometimes, it's not a new term, but we do get group think within an industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
We may have varying opinions, but it's all within a certain realm of group think. We all in the metal roofing world, we all think and use same language, the same thought process. We may kick the edges of the box, right? We may bust the top out of the box, but there's a certain basics that's there with everybody. So you're right. You talk to somebody in anything, medical, I don't care, pizza, it doesn't matter. You're exactly right. It's all of a sudden, well, why wouldn't that work for us, right? And I think that's one of the biggest questions we need to ask ourselves as in the world of businesses. We always look at why that won't work. Well, why don't we ask, well, why couldn't that work?
Yes.
Maybe that could work.
That's a great point.
Maybe, or with some tweaks. and maybe a lot of tweaks, but let's
Yeah.
take the concept and say, why doesn't that? Because it made me think about, I can't remember who says it. I think I know, but uh, about policy, and that's another thing. Companies, I understand you got policies.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But there's so many times, and I feel like it was Jeffrey Gitomer that says this, but I could be mistaken.
He's a great friend. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But so you may remember if he did, but is you give me, well, our policy is, well, guess what my policy is? Not
Right.
to do business with you anymore.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
policy trumps your policy.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Because I don't want to hear your policy. I understand all the,
Yeah.
but at some point I would like your policy to be, Randy, I'm really sorry we screwed this up or it's not working to your satisfaction. Give me an hour, give me a day, whatever, and let me see if I can't fix this for you.
Sure.
That would be what I would like to hear. Your policy is not just this ironclad, well, page 7, row 8 for this says, I have to tell you this, because I'm going to tell you this. Fine. But then my credit card or wallet doesn't come out again with your business,
Yeah.
right? Because that's my policy.
I gave a doctor a bill.
You give a doctor bill. Now that would be fun.
Yeah. And I said, here's what I get for a keynote speech. And you kept me in the waiting room and you were an hour late getting to me. I sat in the waiting room, then I sat in the examination room, and you promised me my appointment was at this time. So here's the bill for my time. And he said, you can't give me a bill. I'm a doctor. I said, I'm a professional. What?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And
I love that.
To his credit, about 3 days later, he called and he said, I can't get this off my mind. Talk to me more about this. And I said, yeah, okay, here's my consulting fee.
Yes, there you go.
I mean, why are you going to tell me what my medical problem is for free? Why would I tell you what your business problem?
Exactly.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but there has to be reciprocal respect.
Exactly.
Right?
I agree.
I mean, and I get if you've had an emergency, there's something, and you come in and you apologize.
Right.
But that was the other thing that upset me. He walked in like he's God, and I'm supposed to just be so thankful. And I'll sit there for an hour and wait just because I could finally get some of this wonderful hero's attention.
Right. For about 3.5 minutes while he taps your knee and says, "Yeah, we'll give you this medicine and get out of here."
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
exactly.
And just burn and churn, and it just we can do better, and we get loyal to those who do.
Exactly.
Well, another quick doctor example. So when I first moved, and I won't say the city because you'll know who these guys are. Need to see a dermatologist, and there were these guys that advertised, marketed their thing, had pictures of them, like caricatures of them, and I'll tell you, it was in Vegas, so they were on gambling chips that you could get, and I mean, they're marketed like you can't believe. It was just, and I really, as somebody that's into marketing, I thought, wow, these guys got it together. It's really cool. And so I go in, and the waiting room is tired and dated, and the last magazine probably was delivered when my mom was a teenager, and I walk up, and there's a glass panel, and the receptionist is eating a sandwich, drinking a big gulp, and slides the thing open and rolls her eyes and says, "Help you?" I just wanted to loiter a little bit. I
just stopped in.
Every single marketing dollar they spent to get me there was now thrown out the window.
Yes.
Because at this point, the trust level went to zero. You're slick marketers and you're horrible at execution.
Well, exactly. And I love that story because I was just talking to somebody about that the other day, and that your online presence and your in-person presence need to be the same. Yes. In my opinion, you can't be one person online and you follow me and you think I'm this smart guy that's got great stuff and you do all this, I'm fun and I'm all that, and I walk in and I'm some kind of a prick or I'm whatever, right? You got to get me wherever you get me. Number one, I'm not smart enough to be more than who I am, so that's easy for me, right? It's like telling the truth. I like to say I'm always ethical and truthful, partially because that's what you should be, but I'm not smart enough to remember all the lies, so I'll just
More
tell you the
stories.
truth. It's just easier.
I
I'll
love
just
it.
tell you the
Yeah,
truth.
yeah,
It's
you're
just
right.
easier.
Yeah.
But but what you just said right there is so disingenuous. You're thinking you're going to this marketing juggernaut of high tech, top of the game, and you walk in and you're nothing but a stale 20-year-old operation, and so everything they just told you, right, it turns you off immediately.
Yeah. Well,
It's
I wrote in the book Iconic, customers judge us on only two things: promise and performance.
yeah,
So what is the promise that I as a customer perceive? And how do I get that promise? I get it from your marketing. I get it from, your social media. I get it from what I can learn from other, customers about you. And there's a promise that I perceive. And then I will always judge your performance based on what I thought the promise was.
right.
And so if I'm giving this promise of, man, we are so up to date, we are so great, we are so customer patient centric, and then my experiences down here, that discongruency ruins the experience.
Exactly.
But here was the surprising point, Randy. This is one that really blew me away. University of San Diego did a study, and it was a very in-depth study. And it said, for those of us like you in a B2B ongoing relationship, right? If it's an ongoing type of relationship, it could be B2C, but it's where we want repetition with customers. Right. To underpromise and overdeliver consistently is perceived eventually as being manipulative. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting,
So
because that would be the age-old thing, right? Everybody says under deliver or under promise over delivery, right?
So here's the example. Miss Smith gets a new car from the XYZ dealership, so then she brings it in for her first service, and they tell her to be done by 2:00. And then about noon, she gets called and they go, we care so much about your business, Miss Smith, man. We put our best people on this. Your car's ready to be picked up now. And she kind of goes, oh, well, great. Wow, you're really on it. So she picks it up. So then the next time she takes it in, they tell her it's going to be ready at 3:00. And they call her at 1:00, and we got it ready. And she kind of goes, oh, man, I've already had lunch. It doesn't help me. I can't go get it till I get off work at 5.
Right.
And then the next time they do it, and she's like, man, I told childcare I wasn't going to be there till late. Now I've already told them, and I've committed to spend more money so they'd look at my kids so I could then go get my car. Now I can, what? And it eventually gets perceived that we're doing it to make ourselves look good, not to truly serve the customer.
I had not thought of that, but that's a good point.
As long as it's tied to our promise about the product. Now, if Miss Smith goes there and they have a rose in the seat to thank her for that, it's unexpected and it's not tied to what the promise is, that's valued.
Right.
But when it's tied to, hey, we're going to get this project done by June 1st, and you get it done by May 1st, there's a part, first time people go, man, these guys are great, right? They had a schedule. You keep doing that, and then there's a point that they go, why didn't they just give us the date they're going to get it done?
Right.
Because we got all these other things that we got to plan after the building's done. So all of that comes into play about we want congruent promise and performance.
Right. And also on the flip side of that, Scott, don't you think that you're creating now I think what you're saying too is you're creating a scenario for yourselves that you may not always live up to. Now the customer is expecting that every single time. That may have been an outlier or a couple of outliers in a row, maybe even 3 outliers in a row, but sooner or later you may be on the time or even late. And now you've created a scenario where they have an expectation, because a lot of what we do in the world of sales is managing expectations, right? And you've set up an expectation now that I can't live with every time. I can't give you 24-hour service because it's typically 48 hours. At 36, we're doing good.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you almost have to remind a customer, depending on the situation, this is an outlier. Usually we do need the 36 hours, sir, but we had an extra guy come in, somebody canceled. Here's what we're glad we could take care of you. Because I think what you're just saying is interesting, because that lady, and using that for instance, started expecting now every time I take my car, it's always going to be 2 hours early. Well, now the first time it's on time, she's already mad.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think of my back at sales days, and if the first sale I made, I cut the price by 10%, guess where negotiations started?
Exactly.
You know, it
Exactly.
started at 10%.
Yeah, sometimes, and I'm going to let you go pretty quick here because you've been very kind with your time, but sometimes, no, I mean that's my deal.
Yeah.
You know, because it's and I've had times where you know, real funny story, quick story now, and then I'll let you finish up and we'll get out of here. But my guy, he tells me my pricing is a little off. And it's a B2B guy, ongoing, great relationship. Okay, you know, sometimes things change, right? Industries change. Maybe we hadn't looked at it. Let's take a look. We go through all these little widgets that are just a small part of the overall deal. Oh, yeah, you're right. We're a little off there. We could adjust that. That's fair. And I said, before we run out of time, because we're going to go to dinner, right? Let's look at the 2 or 3 big items. So make sure we get to those. He goes, oh, Randy, you're way cheaper on those. I shut my book. I guess, let's go to dinner now. We're done. He goes, well, we still have some more. I said, no, we don't. Mm-mm. You should have told me in fairness. Your top 3 items that I buy the most of, you're spot on. I mean, great pricing. If we could look at the others a little bit anywhere you could, but I said, I knew him good enough. You build relationships. I called him out a little bit and I says, you were taking advantage of me on that, and I don't appreciate it, right? Because you should have gave me that opportunity to have open discussion, right? And so if you don't do that, I'd have went through the whole rest of the thing and gave away money I didn't need to give away, because at the end of the day, you still got a better program if I didn't adjust anything, right? So that again, you know, I think too many sales folks, if you want to hit the level of being really good to being a pro, is all the other things we've talked about today, which has been amazing, but that 2-letter word no sometimes is the right word.
We had that this morning, Randy. This group called and we'd already agreed on a price, and the meeting is going to be at a JW Marriott. But they said, well, we've had the order that we got to cut, and so we really need you to cut your fee by 25%. Now this is after we've agreed,
right?
And said, well, you know, so we're going to all of the people that are part of this, asking if they will cut their fee. And I said, well, first of all, it's our opinion that the deal's a deal. You know, we came to an agreement, we came to a deal.
Right.
And by the way, we already gave you a discount because you're doing multiple things with us. But I do have a way that we can save a lot of money for you on this meeting. Oh, great. What's that? And I said, go to the regular Marriott.
Love it. Hey, it's a solution-based selling, right?
I mean, you can pay me the same. Just don't go to the JW Marriott. Right. Just go to the regular Marriott.
Exactly.
And you will save.
Yeah, you just
so
save
much
yourself
money on this.
You just save yourself $20,000 or something, right? I mean,
there you go.
It's pretty easy.
Yeah, and there are so. But what's happened is, you know, we had a while back, you know, because I do business consulting and personal coaching and advising, but speaking is probably the main part of the business. And we had she even told us she was young. This is her first meeting, the whole bit. And so we quote the fee and she asked for a discount. And we said what we typically say. There are times we give a discount. For example, if your meeting was 6 weeks away, if your meeting is in town and I can drive to it, you know, particularly when I was, you know, full-time in Vegas, we absolutely, you kidding? I'd absolutely work with you if I was driving there. You're having the meeting at a resort area and you want me to cut the fee, but you'll throw in an extra plane ticket. I can bring in my wife. You know, yeah, people talk about fee integrity. I believe in fee congruency. So if you found out I gave somebody a lower price, I had a reason I could justify it that they would go, oh, okay, I get that. I was booking you a year out. They're booking you 6 weeks out. Yeah, I get it. Okay, I get that. Right. Okay. But we said, no, you're talking about a meeting 9 months away. We can probably book that date for somebody else, if not you. And she said, oh, well, I went to this sales training program and they told us we should always ask for that because everybody will cut their price.
Oh,
And I
my.
thought, there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they're training their people to ask the question. And what did it cost her to ask? Absolutely nothing. It didn't
Nothing.
cost her anything to ask a
Right.
question.
A-
So
a-
she can say to her boss, I asked. They,
I asked, they held firm, and there
yeah,
we are.
yeah. And the boss
Yeah.
would probably go, well, that's who we want talking to her. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
really,
That's
do you, and by the way, it's a sales conference. You know, I mean, do you really want the person speaking to your salesperson, the person that's caving on price right away?
well,
I mean, come
exactly.
on.
Is that what he's going to teach them? We're going
Yeah,
to teach our group.
teach my people how to hold the price while
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
out there cutting yours.
Yeah. Well, my whole. We can do this in about 3 minutes. My name is Scott, and here's what you do. Every time they ask for a discount, you just give it to them.
Just give it to them. Right.
Just give it to them until they give you the order.
There you go.
Yeah, that's easy. Oh my. Well, Scott, you've been very kind of your time, and maybe I would love, because there's so many things that I would love to chat. Maybe we'll do this again someday.
Oh, I'd love to.
I'd love it.
Next time I'm in Naples, I hope we're getting a bite to eat or getting a drink.
You absolutely. You come to Naples, we're in, buddy.
I've got to say this too. I love what you do on social media. And the reason I'm saying that is I feel like I know you.
Well,
you know,
you.
I feel like I really know you. And that is a very special talent on social media, is to get the viewer to feel like you're so real on social media, and you're so transparent on social media that even if people don't agree with some of the things you're saying, they feel your integrity in saying it.
Well, Scott, coming from you, that's very appreciative.
What you do there is, if anybody wants to learn how to use social media, you're a great example.
Well, Scott,
that's
coming from you, very appreciative. As I said earlier, I figured out a long time ago, you get me. I don't have the desire. I'm too old. I never thought I'd ever say this because I don't even feel old yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just can get me, like me or don't, and I prefer you do, but I don't really care. Yeah. And near as much as I used to. It used to bother me if somebody didn't like me or somebody didn't like something. Okay, fine. Have a great day. If you fall down, I'll still help you up. I'll hold the door for you. But if we're not friends, we're not friends. That's okay. Life will go on, right? But thank you. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on, because you're somebody that equally the work you do is spot on with everything. And that's why I really wanted to talk to you. Everybody can learn from Scott. So we've been running at the bottom how to follow you. I would suggest to anybody follow Scott at minimum. If you can use him for speaking or your books or any of your writings, but man, you bring some spot on stuff every day, and I love
very
it.
Kind.
I really do. So,
thank you.
Well, listen, I was going to ask. Well, I will, because Wes will put it up anyways. Usually, there's frequently asked questions. Should ask questions. The last minute here. What do you wish Randy would ask today and didn't? We didn't get to, or what do you wish when you're just out and about doing your daily work that you wish people would just ask me about that they just never do?
The one I never get is, what is the secret to you getting a lot of business? Because they always think it's, they presume that you give a good speech or you've written a good book or I don't know what. I always ask, how can I help your customer's customer?
Love that.
I'll give you an example and give you an example of the company. I did a speech for Bridgestone, right? It was the employees of Bridgestone that, their sales team, the whole kind of thing. And a good group, really went great. And so the CEO of that division, and I'm saying, so what do you do to help Tire Barn and Discount Tire and all the other tire stores? He says, well, we got good people that call on them. I said, yeah, but they have meetings of their salespeople. How do you help them? And why would Bridgestone get more attention than Goodyear or anybody else? And he said, well, I never thought about that. They need to hear what they just heard from you. He said, could I get a discount if I bought 12 of those? Okay, there's 12 more meetings.
There you go.
And it wasn't because I was asking him, how could I do more for them? The secret was, how could I help them help their customer?
Right.
Because that's where they will spend money.
Oh,
that's
exactly.
where they'll invest.
That's
where they'll. So for everything, it is, if whatever if I'm building a building, how do I make it easier how can I help you make it easier for the people that are going to occupy this building or work out of this building or use this?
Exactly.
How can I help you help your customer?
That's a golden nugget right there, my friend.
When I started asking that is when the business really started thriving. And I would just encourage everybody to think that way. We focus on how do we serve our customer, and we should, and how do we help solve their problems, and we should. But we often overlook that one of their primary problems is how do they serve the needs of their customer. The more we can partner with them to eliminate that friction and provide extra value, then the more valuable we become to that organization.
Love that. Brilliant. Good stuff. And I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. I meant to earlier, but we just got into so many great conversations. But you won a pretty prestigious award not too long ago. Tell us real quickly about that.
Well,
this is just to show everybody that what a big shot you are.
Oh, hardly. But maybe it was a longevity award. They just got tired of me sitting there in the bank.
We'll give you an award, maybe you'll go away, right?
It's called the Cavett Award because the founder of the National Speakers Association was Cavett Roberts. So it is the annual. It's I don't know what you call it, the Oscar, it's the highest award in professional speaking. And I look at the list of folks like Zig Ziglar that have won it in the past. And so I was the recipient this year. And the funny thing is they give the Hall of Fame awards before that. Well, all those folks know they're getting the award. So they've got to plan their acceptance speech. And then they do a little entertainment break. And then they announce the winner of the big award. And that's a total surprise. So here I've got to go up and follow all these great speakers who have been preparing for 6 months what they're going to say, and you're just I didn't know. I was stunned. I was shocked. I was amazed, and just so grateful. It was.
Two things. Well, maybe more than two. Congratulations, because that's a big deal.
Thank you.
And well deserved. Secondarily, I'm just thinking there probably didn't need to tell the winner of this ahead, because if you deserved to win it, you probably didn't need to be told ahead, right? Because you're that good.
Well, about that. The thing of it is you have so many things when you've been at that meeting for so many years and seen the people that you respect, so much. I was there the night that Zig got it as a young speaker, and it does kind of go through your head. But the other thing was when I first walked up to take the award, there's so many people I could have thanked, and you don't have time to thank everybody. And I also would hope that the people that I didn't get a chance to say their name or say a thank you to them knew how much I appreciated what they did for my career.
Oh, that would be the negative side, because the shock of, oh my God, I just won the Grammy, the Oscar, the Tony, whatever, all in one. That it's like it'd be hard to remember everything. But again, seriously, I wanted to bring that up earlier, but
you're very kind to do that, Randy. I really appreciate that.
Well,
hey, do you have time for one more quick story?
Yeah.
They were worried. Somebody called me about a speech on what was going to be the first day of the convention. Now, this award's on the last day of the convention. I always intended on being there, but I didn't know, should I register for the whole convention if this other speech came through? And so they had voted on it. And so the person that runs the association knew I was the winner and saw I wasn't registered yet for the conference. So they're in the 50 years, every speaker has been there. I mean, it's never happened that the speaker hadn't been there. And so they didn't know what to do. So they called my wife and they told her to find out. And first of all, she kept it a secret, which kind of bothers me that she was able to keep that to herself. But the second thing is the thing was about to, the Hall of Fame was about to end. And she turns to me and she says, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. Oh my gosh, I got to go to the ladies' room. And I said, well, the entertainment's about to start. They were going to turn the lights out. And you could go do that and then run back, and then we'll see who gets the Cavett this year. I'm not there. We'll just see who's going to get it. So she gets up and goes to the bathroom, but the entertainment ends, the lights come back on, and she's not there. And then they call my name, and here I get the biggest award I'll ever get in my life. And my first thing I think is, and there is my wife in the bathroom. And then she walked out on stage. They brought her backstage so that she could walk out when I walked up. Which was great. But it was funny to get the first, the biggest award you'll ever get in your life, thinking, and my wife
Wife
is in the bathroom.
in the ladies' room, chatting up somebody in the stall over.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, she's very outgoing. So I'm just thinking, who did she run into?
Oh, that's funny. Oh,
So
good stuff.
It was
Awesome.
all in all, just
Oh,
a bit better.
wow, good. Well,
Thank
congrats.
you for bringing it up.
Appreciate you having. You're welcome, and thank you for all you do. Keep doing it, and appreciate you being a great friend and brother. Just keep doing what you do, my man.
You too, Randy. I appreciate
right.
you greatly.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Cheers. All right. Was that good stuff or what? I mean, we usually don't go an hour. There's only a few we go an hour with, and I can tell you I could have went another 3 or 4 hours. I had questions. Well, I got pages of stuff. Some of them was what I'm going to ask my wife for dinner tonight for. But anyways, you don't care. But anyway, Scott McKain, you got to follow the guy. If you don't understand the brilliance that this man brings to the table seriously, then you're missing. So follow him. And that's it for today. We're going to go do another rack and stack after this because that's what Wes and I do. But, remember, you only get one go around, so love it, live it, own it. And as Wes and I are doing today, and Scott and I just got done doing, do what you love and love what you do. And while you're at it, go make today your best day ever. Till tomorrow. Cheers, my friends.